Hello, everyone. Please quiet down. We're about to have a very exciting panel start. This panel is on Onchain is the next online. And we have some of the most foremost experts in the space all gathered here to talk about this topic. So we have Konstantin, who's the CEO and founder of Blockdaemon. We have Jesse, who is the head of protocols at Coinbase. And then it's going to be moderated by Chris Sharp, who's the CTO at Blockdaemon. So please welcome our extraordinary panelists here today, and we'll kick it off.
Yeah. Hello. No, do those mics not work?
Hello, hello. Oh, it does? Can you guys hear me? Oh, great.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Chris, you want to kick us off?
I'll kick us off here. Maybe what I'll do is I'll start by introducing myself, and then I'll get Jesse and Konstantin to just give a little bit of their background. I'm Chris, CTO at Blockdaemon. I started feels like 10 years ago, but it's really only been a year. Prior to that, I was at Apple for 23 years and had built this little thing called Apple Pay, which was awesome. And just having so much fun in this space. Love working with Konstantin. Jesse's amazing. This is actually a really awesome place to be right here, right now. We're going to hear from these guys, and this is actually, I look at it as a privilege to be able to talk to these guys, because these are the guys that are thinking about things that we haven't even considered. These guys are literally like 5 steps ahead of the rest of us. And this little intimate audience is going to have an opportunity to listen to some forward-looking, really in-depth, interesting things. So I'm going to actually just turn it over to Konstantin. If you could do a quick introduction of yourself, and then we'll do the same with Jesse, and then I'll get started with some questions.
Yeah, totally. And I kind of start also, I'm going to add a couple of sentences about Base, which is really sort of the elephant in the room when we talk about on-chain is obviously Base. And so I'm the CEO and founder of Blockdaemon. We started Blockdaemon 5 years ago to help institutions to ultimately connect to DeFi, which at the time was dedicated nodes, right? And so over the last 5 years, we've become the well, I don't know the largest, but maybe the second largest in the full node organization. We run 85,000 nodes. The only other company that probably has a similar footprint at this point in time is Coinbase. And the reason why we run so many nodes is that we were always really concerned about network performance and decentralization. And so we run these nodes around 70 data centers, and we really wanted to make sure that the compute infrastructure is decentralized. Now, our view is that we see a sea change. We think there's sufficient compute around the world powering L1s. We think that the economical incentives that are underpinning this infrastructure is often misaligned and not really serving the purpose of these chains. And so Blockdaemon's vision is to lift our stack off our sort of the hard-coded infrastructure onto an L2. The other big thing is that we think transactions and the user experience at this point is really the perspective you need to put into this. And for the user, the only sense DeFi makes is if it happens on-chain. That means that people need to be able to swap tokens from one to another seamlessly without intermediaries. And it translates to auto-staking. Tokens need to natively do what they do best. Consumers really shouldn't be burdened with any of that. It also involves encryption and MPC, because key management needs to be a lot simpler. And so for us, when we met Jesse and Coinbase and talked about Base, we found fellow spirits, where we saw that they want to take Base into something much more revolutionary than it initially seems. And for Blockdaemon, that's a sea change in our strategy, how we see ourselves, and also how we want to continue to operate in the space. So super excited to be here, Jesse. Congratulations also. The Base launch was outstanding, and really a real privilege to have you here. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. That was too kind. I'm Jesse. I've been at Coinbase for 6 years, spent 4.5 years growing all of our retail consumer-facing businesses, and then the last 2 years has been trying to figure out how do we bring a Fortune 500 centralized business on-chain. And out the other side of what was a lot of wandering in the desert in a large organization trying to figure that out came Base. And Base is really the platform. It's an Ethereum L2, and our goal with it is to make Onchain the next online, bring Coinbase's business entirely online, and then on-chain, and then alongside our business, create an ecosystem that can bring millions of developers and billions of users on-chain over the next 2 years. So, Blockdaemon have been incredible partners. They had nodes for the testnet on day 0, and we're excited to keep building with them in the years ahead.
Awesome. Thank you both very much. All right, let's get started here. So the title of this is Onchain is the next online. And that sounds really simple, but you guys have obviously been thinking about this for a long time. And what does that mean? And so maybe I'll start with Jesse. And if you could just tell me, like, that little simple catchphrase, what does that mean to you? And then we'll have Konstantin answer the same question.
Yeah, so if you look at the history of kind of technology over the last 40 years, I think what you'll see is that pre-internet, you still had developers, but in many ways they were building in silos. And when you look at the two key things, information and money, pre the internet, both of those were things that were gate-kept. If you wanted to distribute information to a large part of the world, you had to go through centralized news organizations. If you wanted to create a money product, you had to go through banks. Hello. And then around came the internet, and for the first time, information lost the gatekeepers. Now it's the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and anyone anywhere can build an application that can reach anyone anywhere in the world. And that was this insane change in the way we build. And developers everywhere got 10x, 100x, 1000x more leverage, more distribution, more impact. And it was incredible, and that's what has made it so we can have this live stream, and we can all be here right now talking while everyone else on the internet is communicating with us over Twitter. And still, money has been gatekept. And that's meant that ability to build applications for everyone everywhere doesn't exist for every kind of application. And I think our thesis is that right now we are sitting at the beginning, or a little bit into what is about to be the same level of paradigm shift, where literally the entire world is going to be re-platformed over the next 10 years from the online platform to the on-chain platform. And the powerful thing about that on-chain platform is that for the first time, money and value is going to be able to be built by anyone. Anyone, anywhere can build an application like Uniswap, like Aave, like Chainlink, like the cross-chain liquidity stuff that Blockdaemon is talking about that can reach anyone else in the world with money. And that is just it's a revolution. And we're here as developers getting to be at the heart of that revolution, getting to make the change actually happen.
Yeah, everything Jesse said, I think one thing when you've been in crypto for a little bit, the weird thing for me is that we started thinking about L2s like a year ago, really when Chris joined us from Apple. And I'm so giddy with excitement at this phase of our industry, which is sort of kind of weird because people are so focused on token prices and what happens elsewhere. And I have this dichotomy where I feel like this is probably the biggest shift in crypto that we had in a very long time. And because it brings us so much closer to where we need to be. The success of crypto requires a crisis, and it requires problems to become more visible so that we can ultimately put stuff on chain over time. And so it's like the perfect time to move on to this transition. And so from a sort of, I'm air quoting, crypto bro perspective, this is one of the most exciting times in my career in crypto is to be here today and actually see tangible solution and software that actually does that, right? And when you build stuff, it's super easy to talk, like when we started with crypto, around like what this can be, and to actually have a product roadmap that is tangible, monthly in monthly iteration to bring that to life is super exciting for us on chain. And then I'll stop, but it's like, for example, for Blockdaemon, what that means is the sort of cross-chain mesh network, kind of running router sequencers, like enabling every chain to interact with each other seamlessly for the user. And so really to avoid also middlemen within those frameworks, right? And so I think it's a really, really exciting change. And there's been a lot of companies working on that as well for a long time. Liquid staking pools have been addressing this. There's a lot of great bridging companies. And so it's kind of bringing all of these together, ultimately to serve a normal end user with a wallet that does these things all automatically and very simply.
Yeah, and I'll just plus one the excitement about this moment. I don't know how many people here were around in 2018, 2019, the last bear market, there was like nothing going on. We had like kind of CryptoKitties, and people are saying we're in a bear market right now. What I say is we're in a builder market. Like literally, look at this place.
Absolutely.
There are 25,000 people here building incredible applications. Every day it feels like there's new innovation. We are at the beginning of the on-chain revolution that's going to transform our world.
Absolutely. But I mean, just for the audience, let's take a step back for a moment. And like, I want to hear from both of you. This time I'll start with Konstantin. Why does on-chain matter? And how does Base fit into that sort of narrative?
Yeah, I feel like, again, you have to look at it from an end user perspective. So there's two angles on how I think about it. One, on-chain obviously creates transparency, which is obviously something we've need. I think what's interesting in the last year, there's been so much talk about how crypto's failing. Crypto obviously is not failing. What's failing is centralized institutions. And the way to fix it is to move everything on chain, right? And so if an exchange like FTX had every transaction on chain, everything would be recorded, visible, and we wouldn't have had that problem, right? And so I just want to, so obviously the timing for on chain is perfect because of that narrative. It also really plays into the whole kind of regulatory discussions right now, right? Like one thing we need to change is the whole dialogue around speculative tokens powering infrastructure, for example. And a lot of that there's a different subject, but, so on-chain is a transparency thing, and then I think it's also conceptual, holistic with MPC and cryptography. Because you can't, like if you have perfect encryption and you really want to empower users to self-custody over time, you also need to make sure everything is very transparent. Like one without the other doesn't really work, right? So I think the promise of on-chain also is that it really will allow people over time to be self-custodians and believe in what they see. Right, and so that's really a requirement that kind of, to me, complement each other.
Yeah, huge +1 to the transparency aspect. I think that's total downstream impact of on-chain. I mean, the thing that gets me most excited about on-chain is literally how much leverage you can get from building on-chain. You look at a product like Uniswap. Uniswap, the original version of Uniswap was built by one person. And they built a global decentralized exchange that has moved billions and billions and billions of dollars of transactions. The Uniswap v3 that we use today was built by 5 people. And they built, again, a global exchange that has facilitated trillions of dollars of transactions. If you look at what it would take to build a centralized exchange, and I've been building a centralized exchange for the last 6 years, you don't build a centralized exchange with 5 people. It's literally impossible. You need tens, you need hundreds of people. And I think what that illustrates is that the developers, the builders, the people in this room who are building on-chain, you can literally have 10x the impact. Because you are building on a platform that is global from day one, where the identity primitives are solved in many ways because you have wallets that are self-custodial, where you have payment rails built in by default, so you don't have to do all this crazy integration work with the legacy systems or a financial system. That leverage means that the 25,000 people here are not just going to be able to build, the 25,000 things that they would have in Web 2. They're going to be able to build the 25,000 things, and then they're going to be able to build another 250,000 things. And that amount of impact, I just don't think the world is ready for. Like, I feel like this is this kind of closely kept secret in crypto, where all of us who are actually building on-chain products know that we can be 10 times more impactful than anyone else, but no one else does. And I think over the next few years, what we're going to see is the world's going to wake up to that, and they're going to be like, holy crap, like, wow, the world is going to change faster than we expect.
I love both of your answers. Scale, transparency, leads to financial inclusion. This is beautiful. This is absolutely amazing.
We're building a global crypto economy that's going to increase economic freedom and bring 1 billion people into a better version of their life.
Yeah, let that sink in for a moment. This is phenomenal. Maybe I could start with the next question with Jesse. We talked about the importance of on-chain. We get transparency, we get scalability, we have the ability to really truly impact and make people's lives better. Are there areas that you could talk about or be willing to talk about that Coinbase is thinking about moving on chain? Maybe some low-hanging fruit, some things that we could kind of get our whistles wet with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you look at the history of Coinbase, we started in 2012 as a Web 2 company. There was no on-chain platform then. There were no smart contracts. There was no Ethereum. And then over the last 11 years, we've been trying to transform the business, and that started in 2018 with USDC, which is, the most trusted stablecoin in the world, Coinbase Wallet, CBETH, the DApp wallet. But if you look at our portfolio today at Coinbase, I'd say that it's about 10% on-chain. That's things like USDC, CBETH, Coinbase Wallet, and 90% off-chain. And our goal over the next 5 to 10 years is to make it 100% on-chain. So everything's coming on-chain. The thing that I'm personally most excited about right now, I think, is stablecoins. I think if you look at what's possible over the next year, I think there's a pretty clear path for us to have stablecoin transfers on Base that are totally free for people who have a proof of humanity. So if you have a Gitcoin passport, or you have a Coinbase identity, or you have anything that says you're a real human, we can make it possible for you to transfer dollars or other stablecoins to anyone else anywhere in the world globally for free. And that's a result of better identity, better wallets, and low-cost L2s. And to me, how many people here have had problems transferring money to another person because they don't have the same app? We got some hands up. How many people have sent money to your family in another country and had to pay 10%, 20%, 30%? The world is not ready for us to have a global settlement layer that has programmable money that is sub-cent transactions that anyone anywhere can use. And that's what I'm excited about. With transparency. And we obviously have to solve the privacy problems around that. But I think stablecoins are obviously a huge focus for us.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. Next question is, Konstantin, where do you see Blockdaemon playing a role in L2s over time?
Yeah, sure. So first off, if I could dream what I would hope we get to achieve with Base, and obviously this is all early, and there's a lot of stuff to figure out. Is one thing I've seen, because we run really 3 distinct products, which is transaction-enabled APIs, we run staking, liquid staking, and we run sort of on-prem wallet tech. And so we're working on combining everything. Our mission is to bring institutions safely onto crypto, so different to Coinbase. We're helping other institutions who want to test the waters here. But for us, the bigger thing is, I want to also fix some of the current infrastructure problems by allowing larger institutions, for example, theoretically, to run nodes on Base and get a fixed fee reward. So what I would like to do is also change a little bit the current model we have around speculation around staking into a model where there's more fixed fee for solid node operation. And so we can also start bringing institutions into running these nodes so we don't have to do it, right? And so Blockdaemon, that's kind of what Blockdaemon does. So I'm not saying I would love to stop doing that. Mostly because I think now our role has changed. I think the infrastructure is ready for that. And so on an L2 layer, it's enabling institutions to participate running nodes on L2s is one way. And then the other way is on top of it, which is cross-chain liquidity, right? And so and enabling and decentralizing the router and sequencer ecosystem over time. And so for us, that's a sort of native approach, really, that's in sync with our mission. And that's why we're excited about it.
Yeah, thanks. I got just one more question, but I would safe to say that Blockdaemon, we feel like stewards of decentralization and carrying that forward and making sure that all of the promise of transparency is something that we can all realize. All right, last question. Maybe I'll start with Jesse. In 5 years, where do you see Coinbase? If you could answer that, and then same question, but for Blockdaemon.
I'm singularly focused on 2 goals. Bringing 1 million builders on chain so we can have 1 billion users on chain. And I'm ambitious. I'm like 1 million builders in 2023, 1 billion users in 2024. People look at me and say I'm crazy, but then you look at other viral growth stories and it's not insane. We just have been, I think, collectively traumatized over the last 10 years because crypto actually hasn't been that useful. But crypto is about to be useful. I think it's already being useful for huge parts of the world. And over the next 2 years, as we drive down fees, as we make it easier for developers to build, as we make it easier for users to use, that utility is going to shine through. And it's going to stop being this thing that's esoteric and start being this thing that makes a real world impact on everyone's life. So that's it for me. 1 million builders, 1 billion users. We will not stop until we get there.
Yeah, for us, it's democratizing compute power. And we want to bring every financial institution in the world safely onto crypto rails. And so, and in 5 years, what I hope is that Blockdaemon is just a sort of sliver of a software that runs silently in the background, ensuring that institutions find safe pathways through the wonderful beauty of DeFi. And so, and that's what we're dedicated to.
Well, it's been humbling to be on stage with both of you. Just such juggernauts and amazing thought leaders here. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us. 2 shout-outs, 3 shout-outs. If you want to come learn more about Base, come to the basement. It's over there. It's in the basement. It's actually called Home Base, but you follow the green thing down the stairs. 2, if you want to build on Base, base.org, full documentation. Testnet went live last Thursday. We've already had tens of thousands of people deploy contracts on Base. And 3, if you want to participate in Base, you can mint the commemorative Base NFT. We've had, I think, 420,000 mints, the largest open edition mint ever, mint.base.org.
Thanks, guys.